Talking happy talk. Talk about things you'd like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true? Happy talking happy talk. Talk about things you'd like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true?
It ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. I knowed what's right and wrong since I've been 10. I heard a lot of stories, and I reckon they are true, about how girls are put upon by men. I know I mustn't fall into the pit. But when I'm with a feller, I forget. I'm just a girl who can't say. Oh. Thank you so much, and welcome to everybody who is joining us for this live stream. I want to first introduce myself. I'm John Heginbotham. I am the director of the Dartmouth Dance Ensemble and a lecturer in theater at Dartmouth College. And the person to my left, maybe also to your left, I don't know, to my left, is Nathan Kosey.
Hi, John.
Hi. Nathan is the fabulous, fabulous music director of the Broadway and St. Anne's and Bard College versions of Oklahoma, directed by Daniel Fish, which won the Tony Award for Best Revival in 2019. Nathan was also a performer in that show. He conducted and played many instruments. Which instruments?
This instrument, the accordion, and a little bit of. That's it.
Okay.
And a speaking line. I had a speaking line. No big deal.
You had like 2 speaking lines.
I think it was just one, but now I don't remember.
Can you give it to us?
I believe it was, "I'll give you $18 for it." Thank you.
Nathan, we also know each other because Nathan toured with my dance company to Southeast Asia in 2016, where we had an unbelievable and fabulous time.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
Likewise, John. Sight for sore eyes.
Thank you. So listen, I'd like to move in toward introducing our very special guest, a really, really fantastic artist who was the very first, the groundbreaking, the first person to use a wheelchair for mobility on Broadway. She did that in Spring Awakening, a revival with Deaf West's acclaimed production. She also won the Tony Award, also history-making, groundbreaking, in 2019 for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for Oklahoma. She played Ado Annie. And she has a whole bunch of amazing accolades and a really fascinating career. She was on Glee. She was on the Glee Project, a reality TV show. And she's a wonderful person and wonderful actress. And I'd love to show Todd, if you can please bring up, Todd is our production director, the montage for Oklahoma.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Well, I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Don't pray.
fantastic. Thank you. May we please have Nathan Kosi back in the room? Nathan,
Yes,
could you
John.
please give us a little entrance music for the fabulous Ali Stroker?
Yay! Thank
So
you.
fantastic, Ali. It's great to see you.
It's
Hi,
so good
Allie.
to see you. Hi. It's like a reunion.
It's like a total
Exactly.
reunion. Wait, now I realize Nathan's on my right.
Uh-oh.
Nathan, listen, we're going to see you a little bit later on in the show.
Sounds
Farewell
good.
for now.
Goodbye.
So long.
Bye, Nathan. John, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing pretty well, actually. I'm in my apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and that's not a bad place to be right now, actually.
No, good, good.
Where
I'm glad you're safe.
where are
I
you?
am I am in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We have family friends who have a summer home here, and they were not using it, and so they were just so kind and let me and my boyfriend David come and stay here and get out of the city. So we've been here for 5 weeks, which is pretty wild, and it's very different from New York. But it's been really nice. It's beautiful here.
That's fantastic. Do you have neighbors nearby, or are you kind of secluded?
No, we don't know anyone here. So it's just me and David every day, all day. We do a lot of Zooming, which is great right now to be able to
Yeah.
connect with friends and family. And we have a theater company called Tag Theater Co. And so we've been Zooming with them 3 times a week, reading plays aloud. So we're just trying to, keep ourselves busy. And we were talking earlier, but I've had the opportunity to do some singing on this platform before, a week or so ago. So it's actually been kind of busy, which is not what I expected for this time.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, everything's going well.
Well, listen, we're gonna sort of hit the flow of this conversation in like hit the road in a moment. But I do have a question about what something you just brought up, which is you're talking about doing readings. And I had a conversation with your co-star in Oklahoma, Jimmy Davis, who played Will Parker, the love interest of Ada. Well, kind of the love interest of Ada Annie, sometimes
One of
anyway.
her love
One,
interests.
yes. And he brought up how he's been doing some readings as well, and it's kind of weird because in these platforms you can't really look someone in the eye.
Right.
How do you, in a field where so much of what you're trying to do is forge connections, how are you solving or dealing with this?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're trying to focus more on like the text and how it reads versus the performance or, connecting. We're reading all the plays, so it's not even if we were in person, we would be looking at scripts. So we're just trying to like do what we're sort of calling table work right now on the plays, and we have discussions afterwards, and so it's not as much to put the attention on trying to connect is sort of feels like it's kind of gets frustrating. So we're trying to put more of the emphasis on, the text and the writing and the playwright and what the plays are about. And sort of teaching ourselves how to read a script in a more in-depth way than maybe we normally would have time to.
Right. Wow, that's fascinating. And are you able to find that there are moments of vulnerability accessible to you
Yes,
and
and
your
I
colleagues,
like
with your
totally.
colleagues?
I sort of like surprise myself. And I think part of it is because I'm not in as many situations to express myself. So sometimes we'll be talking about something on Zoom and I'll get all choked up and I sort of am surprised by it. But it's really because I care about what I'm talking about. And, after a while you kind of feel like you're in the room with somebody. You sort of forget that like it's just a screen and you're just connecting and talking, and I see your face and I hear your voice. And so, you know, making the best of it and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because I think right now we kind of all are.
So this is such a great point because you're not even talking about your profession. You are talking about the life that so many of us are experiencing right now
Right.
of fighting for connection and vulnerability and being able to I don't know, be with the people we love and like and
Yeah.
in a meaningful way.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that was off-road. That was pre-conversation.
Okay.
Okay, now we're heading into official conversation,
Okay.
which is, you also just mentioned, actually, I guess it's all connected. It's all connected. You're moved because you're reading these scripts and you're doing something that you love. Can we talk for a moment about how you came to be the performer you are right now, how you are having the career that you're having right now? And maybe we can flash a little slide of you sort of, I don't know if it was at the very beginning, but it must have been like pretty close to the beginning. Todd, could you please bring up the Wizard of Oz? You know what? If we were in a room full of people right now who could make sound, there would have been a collective, oh.
I know, right? So this was actually a production of The Wiz. And I was Dorothy. And
Of
it
course,
was
yeah.
my second show I had ever done. The first show I ever did was in my backyard on the Jersey Shore. I played Annie in Annie, and I was 7. And that was when I was introduced to musical theater by my next door neighbor who had just come home from stage door. Many people have heard this story, so I'm sorry if you've heard it before.
I have not heard it, and I'm
Okay,
sure many of
okay.
us watching have not.
So she came home from Stage Door Manor, which is this theater camp in the Berkshires, and she decided that she was going to direct a production of Annie. She was 12 years old, and
Was it Rachel Chavkin?
no, it was Rachel Antonoff,
Okay,
who is a fashion designer and well
amazing.
known in the theater community because she dresses a lot of the theater people. And actually, talk about full circle. She made my Tony dress, which was so cool. But back to sort of your question. So I was introduced to theater that summer, and I was so moved by the whole thing. And I think because I was injured when I was 2 years old in a car accident. And so I use a wheelchair. I have a spinal cord injury. And up until that point, from like 2 years old to 7, I think I had a really, really hard time with the way that I was being received in the world. Like people kind of felt sorry for me. And I hated that so much. And when I got on stage, it felt like everything changed. People didn't feel sorry for me. They looked at me and they respected me, and they were staring at me for other reasons than, as being a little girl out in public, people would stare at me and the fact that I was in a wheelchair. And so when I got on stage, they were staring at me, but I felt like I was in charge and I was powerful. And so it became like a part of coming into my own and like finding my confidence. So theater was like more than like a hobby. It was like my entire life. And I
Wow.
really feel like it saved my life. And I knew that after that summer, I was like, I want to be on Broadway one day. And my parents were like, oh, okay. Oh boy, what do we have here? What do we do with this?
Well, it sounds
So
like
that
your
was the
parents,
beginning.
that's amazing. And I'm really happy to hear that story. I didn't know the details of that. And you're talking about your parents, listening to you say, I want to be on Broadway. I've met your parents before. Listen, they're so incredibly supportive. I don't know. And I don't want you to say anything that's, uncomfortable for you, but was it always like right away, like, absolutely, you're going to Broadway, we're going to get you there?
Yes, I mean, neither of them are performers, so they didn't know exactly what to do with me, but they were determined to find the people who did. And, there were a lot of things that I couldn't do, John. Like I wasn't going to be able to play sports like a lot of the kids in the town that I grew up in. And, we can look at the list of things that being in a wheelchair you can't do, but they were so focused on what I could do. And we like found the thing that I could do. And the singing part of it too was huge because for me, my voice was where I didn't feel any limitations. Everywhere else, physically, I could feel my limitations. I could feel what I could and could not do. But with my voice, it was like I was set free. So I started taking voice lessons every week. And I studied from when I was 7 years old till, all the way through college. And I still take lessons here and there. And so, my voice was sort of this tool that I had to like fully express myself in a way that I didn't feel I had any boundaries.
Amazing. May I ask you a technical question
Yeah.
for any singers who may be, listening to this, and potentially people who also are in wheelchairs listening to this? So voice production is a lot about breath, or yeah, I mean, I was almost going to say all about breath, but I suppose that's not entirely true. And from, you and I having talked in the past, I know that there is a certain place where you don't feel your
Right.
body.
Yeah.
So in dealing with your lungs and dealing with breath production, I don't know, could you talk a little bit about how you approach singing?
Yeah. So when I started to take voice lessons, well, even from the beginning, my first sort of trying to sing experience was just imitating. So I was imitating the Annie movie. I was imitating Andrew McArdle. And I was imitating like the voices that I heard, and I could do that no problem. So then when we got into taking lessons, my teachers did a lot of work with me around visualization. So like, I want you to visualize your lungs expanding. And I am paralyzed high. My injury's from here down, but I wear a brace that is like sort of like acts as my core. So I can feel the pressure when I breathe and my lungs and my rib cage pressing against my brace, which was sort of the beginning of like, okay, and that's the kind of breath that you're going to need. And, I still sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get to the end of that line. And I have certain tricks about like backing off of a note and adding vibrato. But for the most part, like for me, my voice has never been a technical thing. It's always just been a place where I feel like I'm set free, that if I can hear the notes and I know the melody, it just flows out of me. In fact, I don't love thinking about singing in a technical way because I think for so many of us, we're moved by the voice when it is in a place of expression. And, don't get me wrong, like opera singers blow me away. I'm like, wow, that is technician, like that is like so incredible. But for me, that's not how I've loved to look at it. I just like to look at it as expressing myself, getting the amount of air that I need to, but, especially with musical theater, like, it's storytelling, and it's so emotional. So that's where I connect. And of course, there is the learning the notes and learning the song and the words, but then it is really an opportunity to express myself. And, I've also been doing it for so long. So the technique for me is kind of there. But yeah, I'm so thankful that I studied as a kid, because then when I got a little bit older, some of the things that maybe I like would have had to relearn were already there. Like I was set. I had some of the technique.
So what this is bringing up for me is that I actually feel like it would be great if we could, hear an example of what we're all talking about right now. So
Sure.
Todd, I'm going rogue. This is not the order that we talked about, but I would love to take a moment and show the clip of Allie singing "Can't Say No," which is like nearly as good as my version from the top of the show. But, you know,
Oh, I love you.
so Todd, let me know when that clip might be ready. The Oklahoma Can't Say No clip featuring.
Then I think of that old golden rule and do for him what he would do for me. I can't resist a Romeo in a sombrero and chaps. Soon as I sit on their laps, something inside of me snaps. I can't say no. I'm just a girl who can't say no. Kissing's my favorite food. With or without the mistletoe, I'm in a holiday mood. Other girls are coy and hard to catch, but other girls ain't having any fun. Every time I lose a wrestling match, I have a funny feeling that I won. Though I can feel the undertow, I never make a complaint till it's too late for restraint. Then when I want you, I can't say
Allie,
goodness.
Allie, I can hear people all the way from Hanover, New Hampshire applauding here in Brooklyn. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So I need to say two things. One is, you know, I watched that clip and I just got to say, I miss the show. You know, it was so great to be able to just go to the theater and see it, you know, periodically. And it was a really beautiful show. Daniel Fish did a great job. Eva Price was such a hero in producing it. Like, it just, there were some really, everybody in that whole team was so wonderful.
Yeah, that show really changed my life. And watching the montage, I was like, oh, I miss everyone and I miss that show so much. And it's so crazy. You work on a project for, you know, you've been working on it for years and years and years, but for me, like nonstop for 2 years, and then it just ends.
Right.
And it's like, it's almost like a dream. You're like, did that happen?
Right.
It's so crazy. I don't know if anyone else has like ever experienced anything like that, but like for me, it was so crazy how fast it stopped. And yeah, I really do miss it. There is nothing like performing every night on Broadway. I mean, for a performer, it is a dream to get to do that. And I really, it challenged me, John, in a way that I've never been challenged. It was really hard physically, but it was, I mean, I really believe that I was working at my headphones in my hair. I was really working at my full capacity.
Yeah. Okay, so you say that there were hard, you know, difficult things about it. Hardest thing you've ever done, you know.
Yes.
So do you mind talking about some of the specifics about what was hard?
So the show was set up that we were basically on stage for almost the entire time. And physically, I didn't, you know, realize this, but, you know, when you sit in the same positions and do the same movement every single day, sometimes twice a day, your body starts to sort of tighten in certain ways. And I was getting soreness in my wrists because pushing my chair, there was a lot of like start, stop. And so my wrists just started to be like, we need a break. And, you know, that one day off a week is not really a break for your body. So it really was physically, and Farmer and the Cowman, I was doing like, we worked on this so much, but a lot of stuff over my head, which, you know, really, really after you do it so much, for so many weeks over and over and over again, it starts to just kind of take a toll, and it took a toll on my shoulders. So I was in a fair amount of pain for a while, which is really hard to like push through and deal with. And, you know, when you're not at the show, I was trying to always find the balance of like doing PT, but not doing too much so that I had enough energy at night. And then like going to acupuncture, doing that. But for me also, like, my life in New York City is so physical because I'm in a chair. I am pushing or I'm doing transfers in and out of cars. And, you know, I was just physically, my body had never been put through anything like that. So that was basically the biggest challenge. You know, mentally, it's just a game of staying in it, you know, and like not getting distracted, not giving up. But physically, I was really, really tested.
Allie, well, so then I'm going to apologize right now because definitely that over the body, over the top stuff, that was in some ways my fault.
No,
Also,
it's not your fault at all. It was the choreography. It's not your fault at all. I wanted to do it. If I didn't want to do it, I would have said something. And that was another thing, John. I always I'm just so grateful to you that you were so collaborative with me when it came to like figuring out how I was going to do the movement. You were just like so supportive and so kind and so creative, which is like, you know, for me, it was a dream to get to work with you.
okay, for the people watching, I'm going to say this is the part of the show where we like love each other for a few minutes. Ali, I just am going to say also, you were so amazing to work with. And I remember the first day I met you in that really like kind of creepy little studio where we just talked about like, what can you do? What can't you do? What do you want to do? What don't you want to do? What is the power of your chair? What does it mean if you are outside of the chair? What, you know, we even tried some experiments that day that were kind of fun and cool. And I just remember like you were game for all of it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And you were also very good about letting us, you know, letting me and Daniel and everybody know when something was, you know, questionable for one reason or another, which was the truth of, you know, every single person in the cast. You know, there was a lot of conversation about what feels right, what doesn't feel right, and why. May I tell a very, very quick anecdote?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that clip that we just watched, which starts with you, you know, slapping your hands down on the table with an audience member, which happened 8 times a week, and singing a few lines of the song very, you know, flirtatiously to this audience member. And I remember one night we were there, and I remember this really clearly because I was sitting at as far away as you could possibly be from the action.
Yeah.
And this man, you slap your hands down. This man, let's just say, first of all, he was like bald. He was so bald. He made like bald people look like they had hair. Okay. And he was also so pale. He would have been the cue ball in a pool game, right? Like pale, pale, pale. You slap your hands down. You start singing your first line. His face, like it was like musical. The rhythm of it was so beautiful. He just started turning like kind of like this peach, and then it turned pink. And by the end, this man was bright red. I mean, like fire engine red. His whole face and bald head. And people in the audience were cracking up because we could all see. Do you remember this guy?
I don't think, I mean, there were so many people there. I don't think I even remember that. But I know there were so many crazy things that happened in that moment, because when you address an audience member on Broadway, you never know what you're going to get.
Tell
really
us, like,
don't.
Tell us some stuff that happened.
Oh, I mean, there were a lot of moments where I would sing to someone and they would be with their like wife or their husband or their partner. And so like, as I was singing to them, they like pulled their partner close to them to be like, I'm with someone, I'm taken, or the like, want to get in on this, like that kind of stuff. There was a fair amount of. There was like one night when somebody was very rude and made like a really kind of like gross gesture at me, and I remember, you know, it was such a tight cast. I came backstage and everyone was so mad. They're like, oh, if that guy does anything else to you, I'm gonna you know. It's like, you know, we were like a family back there. But you know, those moments are really, really special because you just, every night is different. So it puts you in the present no matter what. You're just like, you don't know what you're going to get. So you got to just be on your toes. And you also, something that I learned is that there are some people that want to like take the moment, and you have to stay really clear in that moment that like you're in charge.
It's your moment. Yeah.
Right, because there are people that come to see shows that are also wanting to perform or like interact, and it was a short moment, but it was just important to stay in control of that moment.
Well, listen, Allie, the time is like flying here. So
Oh my
I'm
God,
gonna,
it's 8:30.
I'm gonna move on to another question.
Yeah.
This is actually a question from a student here at Dartmouth. Her name's Katie Orenstein, and here is her question. She says, Allie, something that I loved about your performance in Oklahoma was how you made your songs your own. The a cappella opening of Can't Say No in particular was exhilarating. How did that moment come to be? And in general, how did you work with the creative team to shape your vocal performance?
Yeah. So this was one of my favorite parts of the process. So when I came into audition, my first audition, I sang Can't Say No the way that, you know, I knew it, more of like the traditional way. And I remember Daniel saying, all right, now we're going to take it and we're going to do it like you're in like a country bar. And I think we like, let's take the music out, you know, and then like, let's try if this note is held longer. And I just love country music and I love Dolly Parton. So I was just listening to, you know, a fair amount of Dolly, and I was just trying to like weave that into it. And again, a lot of the vocal choices had to do with the acting choices. And then also it was like a collaboration. Daniel had certain ideas that he wanted me to try and they would work. And I love country. I think it's like so expressive. I think a lot of country music is very theatrical. So I've sang like a fair amount of country when I was in college, and so this was just like an incredible opportunity. And because it was a revival and because Daniel was directing it, there was so much flexibility. And also Nathan, our music director who's here tonight, you know, was so supportive in finding some of those choices. And like, I remember one day Nathan and I got together and we worked on like the end of it. Like, what is that going to be? And like, what do we need it to be? And how does a song like this end? And I think that another part of this is like, I never thought that I would play Ado Annie because I always sort of like put Oklahoma in the like traditional musical theater category. And I never thought that I fit into a traditional category because of my chair, which is just like such a lesson for any performer. Like, do not put yourself in boxes. Like just allow yourself to take an opportunity and make it your own. Like, how do you resonate with it? And with Ado Annie, like, I just was so thrilled about the fact that she had like all these guys that she was interested in. And it was sort of like living out this part of me that I had begun to explore in my 20s when I was younger, of like wanting to like have many relationships and sort of like explore like who I was as a sexual person. And I didn't really do a lot of that in real life, but in this show, like, Ado Annie is really brave. And so like she has more than one boyfriend. And so it was such like, it was this moment for me of like, this girl is free. And so are you, Allie. And no matter what box that you've put yourself in or other people have put you in, like, you are this person. And so making choices just always was coming from an authentic place and from a place of like, how do I best tell this girl's story? And I mean, you did such a brilliant, here, that pointing that way. You did such a brilliant job with helping me find all of that physically. And one of my favorite things was that like, I loved that I always sat on Allie Hackham's lap, and with Will Parker, he always sat on my lap. And I just thought that those dynamics were so beautiful because, like, that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, with every lover you have, it's different. It is always different. And so I just thought that those moments were really cool. And another thing that was really fun is that I just I loved every single night getting to connect so much with my partners on stage. Like, when you are playing opposite someone, you connect with them every night a little bit differently. It's just like kind of part of the process, because if it's the same every night, you want to kill yourself. And so, like, you really begin to like know someone in a different way every night. And that was just such a beautiful experience to like get to know those partners.
So cool. Ali, this is also so great what we're hearing, because I feel like many of the people watching this may be, aspiring to become professionals in theater, and it's really valuable for them to be able to have access to this, and for all of
Good.
us to have it.
Thanks.
Talking about breaking out of boxes, like exploding boxes, shattering them, leaving them way in the dust. Todd, could we please watch the clip of Ellie winning her Tony Award?
And the Tony Award goes to Ali Stroker!
Allie Stroker missed her Oklahoma callback during a canceled flight and won the part through a self-taped performance.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much. This award is for every kid who is watching tonight who has a disability, who has a limitation or a challenge, who has been waiting to see themselves represented in this arena. You are. There are so many people I need to thank. First, I want to thank my representation, Jed, Ted, and Rachel. Next, I want to thank my Oklahoma family, Eva, Daniel, and my entire cast. Thank you for having my back. Finally, I need to thank my home team, my best friends who have held my hands and pulled me around New York City for years, helping me. And finally, my family, Jake, Alyssa, JP, Tori, and Dan. Mom and Dad, thank you for teaching me to use my gifts to help people. I love you. We did it.
Ali, okay, first of all, what is it like for you to watch that?
I have not watched that.
What?
Yeah.
This is the first time you've seen that?
Yeah. I have not watched it
New question. Why have you not watched it?
because it was such an in the moment experience. It was just like, I just never wanted to I never wanted to live it any other way. You know what I mean? One of those
you
incredible
were there.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sad that you just saw it?
No,
Okay.
not at all. It was time. It was time. It was time to see what the world saw. No, it was totally time.
So you get nominated. By the way, so does our fabulous, fabulous Mary Testa, who I just want to give a shout out
Yes.
to.
Oh my gosh.
Mary,
Mary is the best.
So
Mary is
amazing.
the best.
But so, right, so you guys both, you get nominated, and you know that there's a chance you may win. You're writing a speech. How do you decide? And you have a time limit. How do you decide?
You know, that whole period of time was so crazy. It was really like being in this wild circus because we're doing the show. And then when you're nominated, you're doing all this press. The week before the Tonys, of course, I get sick. I mean, it was just like so nuts. So anyway, I wrote a list of the people that I wanted to thank, and I want to share this because it's appropriate here. But I after I thanked my parents, I went to thank my boyfriend, and they cut me off. And so nobody got to hear that I want to thank my love, my partner, like the person who's there for me every single day. So that was like kind of devastating that I didn't get, these moments, right, John? Like these moments that you imagine are going to be one way. And then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get to thank, and I thanked him as the music started, but they cut out the mic and whatever the world didn't get to hear. So that was like,
Right.
like my heart, the person that I wanted to thank, the last in so many ways. But, it was never something I like set out to do, but it was this unbelievable moment of feeling like I was acknowledged for all of the stuff that I had gone through, and like I was accepted, and I was also celebrated for what I was doing, even when it was a little bit different than it's ever been done before. It was like we celebrate you and we accept you. And I know for years, and really my entire life, I've always felt like I needed to prove myself. And that award really has given me this incredible feeling of not needing to push and not needing to prove myself as much, that like I have, and like I am enough. And
Al-
yellow is now my lucky color. If
yes.
you're
Oh my God.
being very honest.
Back to Rachel, who designed your dress, correct?
Yes.
Like this, very beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a shout out to Therese Wadden, our costume designer, who designed
Yes.
this, which was my Tony's
Oh,
outfit,
John,
Dream Baby
I love
Dream.
it.
Can't say no. That's from Bard College.
It's the best.
And this
And
is
you have the
from,
sequin shirt in the background.
I have
Oh my
all the
gosh.
memorabilia here. You can't see, like I'm in a kitchen with dirty dishes and all of my memorabilia.
I love the Dream Baby Dream shirt in the background.
Therese Wadden.
That is gorgeous. I love it so much.
So Ali, I was warned this was going to happen, but it's like, oh my God, like there are so many things to talk about, and then suddenly it's like 8:44, and
Oh my
we're
God.
like we're going to have to close up shop pretty soon. I wonder if I might ask you, is there anything we haven't talked about uh, that you feel like you'd like to say before we close?
I think because we're talking about Oklahoma and we're talking about like, well, I just like want to bring Oklahoma. I want to like bring the thread through to right now. Something that I really learned in Oklahoma is like what we think we know, there's always things underneath it, right? Like this revival to me was this beautiful reveal of what was underneath the story of Oklahoma. And it reminds me of how I feel right now in this moment in my life, where everything I thought I knew life to be right now, being at home and being quarantined and being in this pandemic with the world, has revealed all these things that are like underneath that, like, I kind of knew were there, but I was going so fast and I was so busy and I was moving so quickly through my life that I like hadn't stopped and like looked at. And so I like want to just say to you and to like anybody who's listening that like all of the things that you're feeling right now are like all for you. And like they're all things that are a part of you. And like they're a part of your story. And so like don't be afraid, you know, like in Oklahoma, like all those parts of the story that we told that were maybe not as pretty or like not as comfortable were part of the story. And so I don't know, that just like came to me and I just wanted to share it. And I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but it's just something that I learned while we were doing the show that reminds me of like where we are right now.
Helping us find strength. And actually, also Oklahoma, that wonderful line that Aunt Eller, Mary Testa, says, you know, like there's one way you can get through this difficult time. You got to be hardy. You can't enjoy the sweet and tender things in life unless
You're tough.
you're tough. Really, really beautiful words from that show. Allie, listen, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You're
Thank
so,
you.
so
I'm
wonderful.
sending you a huge hug right now, John. Thank
Allie,
you
do you know
so
what?
much.
I'm sending you a big kiss and hug. I'm also sending you a shot of, you know what? This is whiskey, and it says all or nothing. All or nothing. I'm gonna have a little bit right now.
In your Oklahoma shot glass.
Amazing.
So cute. I love it.
Allie, will you
Thank
just
you
stay?
for having me.
Thank you. Will you stay here for one more second while we invite Nathan Kosi to come back in?
Yes, please.
Oh, hello.
Oh,
Hi.
Nathan, fancy meeting you here. Come here often?
Oh, boy.
So listen, thank you to everybody who has, you know, watched this. Thank you to Allie and Nathan and Todd and Mark and Joshua and Katie and Karina and Mary Lou, all of the people, the many, many people, the whole staff at the Hopkins Center for the Arts, you're all doing amazing work. And I just want to thank, and also our audience. I'm drunk now. I probably already thanked them, but I'm drunk. So I really appreciate being able to have this time with you all. And we're going to close out with a beautiful song that Nathan is going to play on the accordion and sing. And he is doing a loop reel, which means that he would like for me to talk about the song while he starts playing it.
Well, yes, I would, John.
So this is a song that is from the Broadway super sensational hit American Utopia, music by David Byrne. It's called This Must Be the Place. And Nathan, we're going to leave it to you. Thank you all so much. Thanks, Allie.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Home's where I want to be. Pick me up and turn me round. I feel numb, born with a weak heart. I guess I must be having fun. The less we say about it, the better. Make it up as we go along. Feet on the ground, head in the sky. It's okay, I know nothing's wrong, nothing's. Oh, I got plenty of time. Oh, you got light in your eyes, and you're standing here beside me. I love the passing of time. Never for money, always Good night, y'all.
Happy talking, talking, happy talk. Talk about things you'd like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true? Happy talking, talking, happy talk. Talk about things you'd like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true? Let's talk about the moon, floating in the sky, looking like a lily on a lake. Talk about the birds